Welcome, Nikita. How's it going?
I'm good. Luciano asked me before this meeting, please, Nikita, take this relaxed pose like everybody should use on this stage. So I'm following your advice.
Welcome again. Pleasure having Amazon with us at the second next day. Hello, everybody again. Maybe again, it feels like pretty much all my stories might be personal or very personal, but I'm very passionate about what we're doing here. And that's maybe, I think, the most healthiest way of building stuff. And I'm very happy that today we had the big league when it comes to infrastructure. Infrastructure delivering data, infrastructure allowing and giving the bandwidth to technology and different and new protocols that, as already mentioned, improve the quality of our life ever since. And without further ado, I'm very excited to give you the mic and maybe walk us through about what AWS is doing, how AWS is especially coming closer to technology or to technology providers, innovators, and builders especially, and most important, founders as well, to make them successful, not only providing infrastructure, but also maybe some other angle with respect to startups.
Luciano, thank you much for this question. Before I will start answering, I would like to say thank you to this audience, to the builders and builders sitting here, because a lot of people asking me during the day and the day before, Nikita, how do you feel like here? And I feel this vibe, feel this energy of the people really disrupting the story, really building the future, despite everything which is happening in the world. And it's like I have an organic feeling like a person. I have an organic feeling as a person inside AWS who has an access to variety of resources to support these motions, to support MultiversX team in your vision, in the delivery of this vision, in this making new things happen. So thank you much for this. And
maybe if I'm allowed to give a bit more context about how the relation started. Again, it all started years ago. It feels like we're almost getting dinosaurs here, building dinosaurs or so forth. Years back when we had to, prior to the mainnet launch, we had to deliver about, I think, we had 150 releases, protocol releases prior to the mainnet. So 150 versions of the MultiversX chain released in less than 300 days. So that's almost every second day a new build. And with that in mind, basically we started first almost like a garage in the office, deploying this kind of infrastructure, trying to stress test and so forth. But very soon we seen that we needed a way better infrastructure, way better, way faster, very robust infrastructure, or perhaps the most robust infrastructure in the world to build this kind of technology. And that's when we actually started discovering AWS, and not only discovering, actually having a very close discussion around what we're building, how they can help us, and they have always been helpful with us, providing the technology and the tooling needed for building and getting us here. And I'll let maybe again Nikita go through the roadmap, or I think how we're going to go forward from here, because technology or the part of for developers or builders is very relevant, but also the success and the distribution of the software or products, I think it's very critical in every market cycle or product cycle.
Thanks, Luciano. Thanks a lot for these warm words. I recognize the usual, I would say, way how is it organized in AWS culture. We are working, I would say, backwards from the customer's needs, from your team's needs, and whenever customer, whenever partner asks for some specific thing or has a very specific bottleneck, which could be related to tech-savvy stuff or business-savvy stuff, which is my favorite topic you will see today. We are trying to engage the right teammates, the right team to help and to support your vision and your road to market. That's the story. During my 10 minutes going to this fancy place in Bucharest today, I was thinking, what is the main thing I would like to deliver to you so nobody from you would regret spending 20 minutes listening to this person sitting in this pose, specially designed pose. And I would like to talk to you about children. Because building a new vision, it's very familiar to growing up a child. And what is the most important, I would say, here, growing up a child, is to understand what exact needs, which are very different during his life, you should deliver to him, and which are relevant at the moment. Because I would say in AWS, there is plenty things, resources, which are laying on the table, and it should be a very wise strategy what of them are relevant to your startup, to your vision at the moment. They are divided into 3 groups. One is like tech-savvy stuff, cloud infrastructure, as it is. There are go-to-market motions which help you to accelerate your business results, I would say, the audience. And there is a visibility story, which we are sitting right now together and discussing a lot, which means a lot to drive the penetration of the Web3 in the world. However, if to divide it into the different stages, you see there are peculiar things which are related to every stage of your journey on the market. When you are just starting building on the hackathon, for example, you need to have opportunity, I would say, to have a gratitude infrastructure to build, and to experiment and to trying to reach your, I would say, MVP, which could be scaled. When you have an MVP, when you have a touch, when you begin to recognize your customer and covering the needs, it's like the stage to scale your POC. And there are different, I would say, relevant programs inside AWS to help you make it efficiently and comfortable for you. They are mentioned on the screen. And again, and now my favorite part is go-to-market motions. If you have the customer, if you have the traction, if there are VCs or investors who believed in you and invested money and believing that your vision could be a reality, it's time not only rely on you, on yourself, but also to find and to challenge AWS, for example, account managers, whoever, a person sitting in the yellow jeans in front of you, asking him, how could you help me in go-to-market motion with this exact profile of the customers? And there are plenty of programs devoted to this, and there are plenty of, I would say, dedicated teams inside AWS. They called, for example, Web3 dedicated business development team, who could help you with this go-to-market journey. You see? And coming back to the babies and coming back, I would say, to my main message to you is like the right pillow for the right stage could accelerate you a lot. It would not substitute your fundraising talents. It would not substitute your sales machine, you see, your magnet marketing power, but it could accelerate a lot. This is the story which I wanted to share you.
Definitely. Maybe Just to restate and clarify a bit. So I was mentioning earlier the part where Amazon stepped in and we were, I think, at the first step, building a POC, validating the product, right? Scaling up and having the right tools and the right support from the partners was especially very important and critical at the time. But I'm very happy to see that as the product grew and we become a global infrastructure which is not about ourselves anymore, but rather building a new kind of technology that enforces new builders, new founders to generate value into the world is aligned with Amazon, especially now seeing and maybe clarifying again, Amazon is part of the hackathon on the MultiversX hackathon track and supporting builders as of today. So big thank you to that.
Thank you much. Thank you much. Thank you much.
Maybe I would just touch on another point that I think should be clarified. Of course, you get a tech, you get the support for the builders, but it's again only about, I think for now, the angle have seen only about the technology. What about the VCs? What about the distribution? And I think with respect to that, there's a joint or an unknown phase from Amazon, at least for most of the startups, that they can come in and bring their network of VCs, connections, open doors, and bring the distribution, especially how Nikita was mentioning. I think I'll maybe invite Nikita to touch more about that topic as well. Maybe it's one of the next slides. I'm not sure. I don't want to steal the...
This is my favorite topic because it is a bit peculiar, and you will feel the story which is standing behind at the moment. Say that I'm receiving email box on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, I will say, up to 7 requests. Please, Nikita, introduce me to this exact VC, to any VC, or like whatever. Because you told that AWS is like devoted to support startups, I'm here to challenge you. Please introduce me. And first thing to know, my first question to these founders is, whom did you knock to the doors? What kind of a feedback did you get? And like, tell me the story. And if there is no story, there is no feedback, there is no traction, you see, it's useless to engage AWS VCBD manager like to help because you are not ready. However, what is very beneficial here and what I really do, I share a special kind of a playbook. How should be the Web3, for example, pitch deck look like? I could easily introduce you to the relevant VCs sitting in my network. You see? And this is what VCs are also asking me. Nikita, if you see the startups which are relevant to this exact, I would say, architecture industry, to this exact product, please ring a bell. You see, this is the story. So I would like to emphasize that there is no person who could substitute you, I would say, in fundraising, but there is a person who could, I would say, introduce you to a VC if the steps in advance were made. Second thing to say, again, there are special programs which are AWS Startup Love Acceleration, AWS Startup Mentorship, FinTech Accelerator, some others which are not mentioned here, which have one of the main targets to put you in the right audience of the venture capital funds, you know, of your industry, to give you an opportunity to pitch in front of them, being prepared by our team from the product perspective, from the technological perspective, from the marketing perspective. That's the story I would also like inspire you to take part, because I see significant results here. That's my answer.
Amazing. Seems like there's a lot of pipelines for builders to join and get feedback, and especially the relevant intros to people that can help them take their business or their idea to the next phase. I'm curious maybe to go even further with our discussion and explore with respect to distribution. I think there's some very, very specific points where AWS comes into and joins forces with startups, especially, again, validating the idea, bringing the distribution, bringing the relevant discussion, and opening the right doors for the people, and also supporting their ecosystem. But when it comes to the ultimate adoption or simplifying and leveraging what both companies or both parties are doing, Amazon is still a very, or the top one or tier one infrastructure provider worldwide for web services. And with that, there's also the Amazon marketplace. Before that, I would maybe invite you to touch a bit and describe a bit what's the mission of AWS marketplace, and then we'll have some several other interesting topics to cover.
Maybe some samples, some concrete samples, because Luciano was asking, Nikita, if you're saying some inspiring things, please bring some example. I would say no example, no party. You see the companies which are pretty famous, you know, which are, I would say, using AWS services at the moment. And I'm looking at them and smiling because there is always story standing behind every of them. As Luciano mentioned, you have a story with MultiversX. And I would like just to mention that, for example, Coinbase runs machine learning on AWS for online identification. And they are using like Amazon SageMaker for their anti-fraud detection purposes. And this is like one example of the collaboration of building a special detection model, I would say, to decrease the risk of the fraud for the company. Union Bank. And this is the story about the connections. It's partners with Consensus and Kaleido to drive future banking practices. And the story standing behind is like connected more than 500 banks in the rural area on the blockchain platform. And the last, maybe not the least, example about 1inch, it's the company who reduced cloud expenditure by 30%, just migrating to AWS Graviton, I would say, specialized CPU. And these are the stories, both technical and go to market. And if there is a recording, please switch off the recording. But we have kind of a personal joke sometimes with my friends about this story. Nobody will say your word inside AWS if you did not succeed to propose some new product to a startup. But I would have a hard discussion with my manager if I did not recommend some optimization of the cloud, some well-architected review, something which could help you grow in the cloud organically with the minimum cost, which is one of the core points. That's the story I wanted to emphasize.
Very, very, very interesting, and especially now with respect to the companies here behind, I think everybody knows the amount of users those guys or those companies are servicing and the accuracy needed for the infrastructure underneath to work in order to have a new kind of financial system being built on top of the internet. Maybe I'll go to the next point again with respect to the AWS marketplace that exactly, maybe with respect to the AWS marketplace, there are some very, very interesting points that the longer you spend time with such partners, the longer you find out there's always more to do. And to reiterate again, from building, supporting the ecosystem, bringing the relevant discussion, what about the distribution? And with that in mind, we actually have been working for quite some time to bring up the one-click node deployment in the AWS marketplace, especially providing this kind of relevant, simplified experience for everybody to be part of.
When you hear the phrase from Luciana, who says about one-click deployment on the AWS marketplace, this is not only a technical part. This is about taking the sales muscle of AWS, leveraging it to, I would say, to start growing aggressively. You see, this is the story which stands behind. And we are talking a lot during the day about building the bridges, and increasing the penetration of Web3 technologies. And this is exactly the motion what we need if we're really addicted to our goals.
Definitely, definitely. I think the time is running out. Once again, I think with respect to the one-click node deployment, very happy to announce that we're working together closely. It's, I think, one approval away from the AWS side. We tried to get it on stage today and it will be announced, but I think the following days will be up and running as well. So if you are a builder, if you are an infrastructure provider or a founder, please reach out Nikita, reach out to AWS. Let's join forces and build a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome.